So I've been waiting several weeks to speak to you about this new uranium company in my portfolio. Let's get into it. Hi, this is Fabi from The Next Big Rush, and if you know anything about me and what I do, you know that I absolutely love uranium. I've put a lot of my money into it, and just a couple months back, I saw the opportunity to take part in a private placement in a very specific company. Now, this company doesn't get talked about very much, but I think that's about to change. If you're familiar with the Athabasca Basin, then you have to take a look at Azincourt Energy. So, disclaimer before I go ahead, I participated in the private placement, went long, I still hold those shares, but I also contacted the company and we decided to partner up. They want you guys to know more about what they're doing, so they're essentially a new sponsor to the channel. But why do I think that they're really onto something? Let's take a look right now. We are looking at Azincourt Energy. Now, my first disclaimer is that this is a very early stage exploration company, so it's very risky. Now, if we take a quick look at management, for very early stage companies, you want a tight management team. You don't want 5 or 6 people trying to do something that 2 or 3 people could be doing. Alex Klanman has been with Rox Gold, Integra Gold, and a few other companies that you may recognize. Something that I like about Alex is that he's been buying into the market. So you can see the insider filings here. And he's been buying a little bit at a time for basically the same price and condition as you and I can buy. Now let's take a look at their projects. They have a very interesting project in the Athabasca Basin that we're going to get into with more detail, and they also have a project in Peru, which is not going to be the focus of this video today. Now, the Athabasca Basin, unless you don't know anything about uranium or you have been living under a rock, is considered to be the Saudi Arabia of uranium. It's where all the really juicy, highest grades deposits are located. Whenever they say mining uranium in Canada, they're typically talking about the Athabasca Basin. They've been producing uranium for about 40 years now, and this jurisdiction is incredibly pro-mining. I think it's the number 1 or the number 2 jurisdiction in the world for mining. So these guys are probably going to have zero community relation problems. If you take a look at this map, it's very interesting. Now, Azincourt is stuck right to Orano and Sky Harbor's project. It's also stuck to NextGen's area, and this is where it gets interesting. Now, NextGen, as you know, has gotten as high as $1 billion junior with their very rich resource, and they've come down a bit. The sentiment for uranium is actually quite low, and you can see that in the market price, in the price of Azincourt itself. It was double its price just about a year ago almost. And this is the kind of chart, believe it or not, that I absolutely love. It's been bouncing off a bottom here of about 5 cents. Let's take a look at the project again. Now, it seems to me that uranium exploration is a lot more scientific and a lot more technical than gold. You'll see a lot of tiny gold juniors, they raise money, and a lot of times it's either hit or miss in their gold showings. It's almost as if gold is harder to detect than uranium. If you take a look at these companies, you're going to see that so many of them in this area have found decent uranium showings. Now, they may be very early stage and preliminary, but it shows a lot of potential for sure. Now, Azincourt Energy's market cap is a bit higher than it's shown here. We're looking at, well, we just had a 10% update, so you're looking at $7 million market cap. That's because they have just raised with some very interesting backers. So this is the East Preston project. It is partly owned by both Sky Harbor, Clean Commodities. Azincourt is earning into 70% of this project. So right next door here, you have Orano, which is a $1 billion company, and Sky Harbor exploring the west side of the project, and Azincourt's taking the east. So recently, a VTEM survey was done, and you're basically flying a helicopter over the area and picking up on magnetic information to see how you can narrow down your targets. Then you get something like this. Geophysics that shows you
the kind of variation in conductivity that you have in the ground. And that's how they pick where to drill. Now, drilling started in March, which for the region is quite late. You want to drill in the winter while the ground is essentially frozen and not flooded. So as I am not receiving any insider information, fortunately or unfortunately, I cannot tell you exactly how many drills they were able to pull off, but I can tell you that results are expected anytime soon. So they have recently raised about $1.5 million with a mixture of flow-through and non-flow-through shares. Now, flow-through shares just means that they're going to have to put that into the ground, and it's better for the people who are investing it for tax purposes if they're in Canada. That's the short of it. And as I've mentioned before to people who've been paying attention, I'm not going to go into detail on who participated in this private placement, but let's just say that smaller uranium-focused or resource-focused institutions have bought into this placement, and so did I. Now, I want to highlight the fact that this was raised before drill results. What that means is that, well, it's very likely that the results are going to come out before these shares are free to trade. So I don't believe that if they don't hit, there's going to be a massive sell-off. But at the same time, I can't guarantee it. All I know is that I would bet that the people who got into this placement are mostly longer term holders. And like me, they're probably not looking at this from a 10-20% gain and let's get out of it. No, I think these guys are looking at the whole sector and they're thinking, okay, if the uranium sentiment changes alone, then this will be a nice return. If they find something even better, if they can't find anything that's blockbuster material straight away, well, then they already have enough cash for a second drilling campaign. And this is what's important. I'm not really waiting anxiously for this first set of results, although, you know, if it's positive, thank you very much. That's going to be great. I'm looking at a longer term horizon. I just want to place bets in this region, and investing alongside people who really know what they're doing is usually a good idea, especially if you can get the same price and terms as what they're getting. So like I said, high risk, but still not very much talked about. A lot of people don't yet know Azincourt. I guess they will now. I've made my bet. Let's see how this develops.